Hi, welcome back. I hope you're getting some real value from the House of Sales course so far, and from the personal section in particular. In this video, we're going to talk about how you can put your best foot forward. We're going to talk about 7 stories you need so you always look your best in front of clients and feel your best inside. Now, when we go for an interview, we have to put our best foot forward. We make sure that we've shined our shoes, prepared a few questions to ask, but most importantly, prepared a few stories to tell so that we always look good. Now, as a sales professional, you're in this sort of high pressure situation almost daily, not just when you have an interview. So you need to ensure that you're at your best, and this exercise will help you to do this. Now, it's also important to have these stories easily to hand for the days when you get challenged by someone or something and need to bolster your self-confidence. This exercise is about having answers to questions about yourself. It should be a very pleasant experience to go through these questions and just jot down some stories about yourself when you're being brilliant. The benefits are threefold. Firstly, you have an instant ego boost for those mornings when the duvet looks far more appealing than the motorway. Secondly, you have stories to tell your clients, when appropriate, that will show you up in a good light. Now, don't worry about appearing boastful. It's actually really hard to do that. Most people just take what you say at face value and will think you're great. Having prepared a few tales, you'll not be taken aback when asked about your own experiences. And the smoother the story comes out, the more confidence the client will have that it's all in a day's work for you and your firm. And thirdly, when it does come time to move and you do have an interview to do, you'll have all the material and the practice you need to ace it. Now, we're thinking a bit ahead here, but that never hurts, because once you start firing on all cylinders in your sales career, you will find yourself very much in demand. Now, bear in mind that no stand-up comedian you've ever seen in your life has ever stood on stage and actually made anything up. They prepare their set assiduously, even down to the ad-libs they seem to just throw in without thinking. Learn from them. You never go into a situation unprepared if you have any choice about it. And it's so easy to just spend an hour or so working these stories out, and you'll be so glad you did. So the next time you've got a really boring car journey, or you're just lying there in the bath, just go through one of these titles, or all of the titles if you like, and just come up with some stories, some anecdotes around them. The more you prepare, the better you'll be in front of your clients. There are 7 key competencies sought after by prospective customers looking for a salesperson they can believe in. Prepare a brief story for each of these. Now, it doesn't have to be a great work of art, just an anecdote with a clear effect of showing you up in the best relevant light. We'll cover what stories need to look like in order to grab attention as part of the section on presenting right at the end, so don't worry about that for now. You just need short 5-minute stories that show you in a positive way. Proactive, adaptive, and happy to be a part of a team or even to lead the team. Let's start with that. Number 1, leading. This is a story where you had to take the lead on a project or in some other situation in order to succeed. This is useful for reassuring clients that you've done this before, that you've done whatever needed to be done in order to help a customer succeed, and you are capable of leadership. Example: in one of my early career roles, I was responsible for the distribution operations, and we had a long list of IT projects that just never seemed to make any progress, even the simple ones. So I negotiated with our IT provider to get a person seconded to our department in order to understand our real needs. Once the person arrived, they tackled the low-hanging fruit projects, like making invoices easy for customers to understand. And I went on to take on the whole IT department and ran the development team there. And we were successful because we could see what really mattered to a customer. So, this story shows that I'm happy to take the lead in order to get the job done, and even expand my responsibility as long as it leads to a successful outcome for a client. Number 2, supporting and cooperating. You need to find a situation where you actively supported a client beyond the normal expectations and made a huge contribution to their success. This is a recognition that any major change will involve difficulty and should reassure your clients that you are not naive enough to believe that it's all going to be plain sailing, and you have experience and willingness to roll up your sleeves and get the job done. My example here is we were rolling out a new way to buy high-value medical devices for the NHS. The people who ordered these were theatre nurses, and they basically could not be bothered with the new way of doing things because by the time they'd finished in the theatres with the day's operations, they were just too tired to learn anything new. So I arranged for colleagues of mine to attend the relevant hospitals at the end of each day in order to physically show and support the nurses as they set about the replenishment of the stock. It only took a few days and they were converts, and they even offered to provide support for other hospitals if they needed a bit of encouragement. So this story shows that I understand it's important to meet customers where they actually are, not just where I want them to be, and that I'm willing to get involved with their view of the world in order to ensure their success. Number 3, influencing. Describe when you've changed someone's mind and thereby saved the day. Use this to illustrate how sometimes people just need to get the facts, or just be reassured, or just understand the danger of not doing anything, whatever it is that you need to show. It will put you in the position of being the wise advisor. So don't emphasize your own role as much as the process the other person went through with your help. I often use one of my many examples where I've gone in and done a short consultancy exercise and found facts that the customer just wasn't aware of. And thereby they realise what they actually need to do next. Number 4, analysis. How do you go about analysing situations and deriving sense from complex sets of information and data? This will be a story illustrating how you need to gather data in order to create a business case. Now we cover this again in the section on presenting, but you will have your own way of doing this with your clients, so make sure you understand it fully and can describe it to a client that you've just met. My example is whenever I meet a new customer, I always make a point of spending 1 or 2 days actually working in their distribution operations, even going so far as going on a delivery run and working in the warehouse, so I get a real feel for what it is they do and the day-to-day problems they face. Number 5, and here's a buzzword for you, creativity. Talk about a time when you developed and applied your solution or yourself in a novel way and came up with a solution to a significant problem for a customer. This is useful to show how you can adapt yourself and your solution to new sectors and new business situations. Here's my example. I spent several weeks in the US studying how hospitals over there organised and tracked their medical supplies in order to take the best practices and use them in hospitals in the UK. This always starts a conversation with new customers, and it certainly reminds me of some of my own expertise when I've had a bad day and I'm not feeling so good. Number 6, planning. So you can tell us about a project that you successfully managed, how it was organised and how it was executed step by step. You should have a few case stories to tell where projects were successfully executed to the client's requirements. And they can include a part where it looks like things were going to go wrong and then you spotted this and stepped in and saved the day. It adds a bit of dramatic effect and a note of realism. Now, I have lots of stories about implementing supply chains and how I run projects. In fact, I developed my own massively simplified and easy to use project management methodology from all this experience. And this is actually what I will be teaching you in the plan section in the House of Sales course later on. Finally, adaptability. How have you coped with setbacks, failures, and significant changes in projects? How did you respond? What did you learn? And how do you use this now? Now be careful with this type of story because it can lead the customer to believe that they can just keep changing the scope of a project forever, and the truth obviously is that they can't. You just need to show that you and your solution can be refined as you go along, and you don't need to have all the answers up front. Do make the point that successful projects need a well-defined agreed goal, and once that's priced, changes cost money. This type of story is very reassuring for clients, which might sound a bit counterintuitive because it's all about when things nearly went badly astray. But it does show that you can cope with challenging situations and answers the nagging thought in the back of a customer's head that keeps saying, yeah, but we're different. It makes the point that even if they truly are different, you have the experience to cope with that. So, there you have it. 7 stories that you need to develop. You can develop as many of each type of story as you need to, but start thinking of your stories now. I've set a task just after this video because this exercise really is time well spent for you. The more stories you can develop and the easier you can deliver them to customers or even to yourself, the better you'll find it.